jump up here and make another quick video. This particular video is going to speak about the Afro-Mexican population down in Mexico. And these people are people that are descendants from the African slaves that were brought to the Mexico. And they also have a little Spanish blood in them today, of course, but they are overwhelmingly they're overwhelmingly Negro, Bantu, Hebrew blood. And so the reason why I wanted to make this is because just as of last year in January 2016, the country of Mexico just recently decided to acknowledge these people and recognize them. And what I mean by that is that I'm sure they had citizenship, but they didn't honor them, they didn't own them, they didn't claim them as part of Mexico, as Mexico's history. So when you see Mexico, you only saw the fair-skinned, the more European type of Mexican. But these people look like me and like you that may be watching. And so this goes to show you that the scripture, when it says scattered, we truly are scattered abroad, everywhere. We're not just in North America and the United States or in the Caribbean or even the UK and Europe. We are also in Canada. We're also in Asia. You know, we are all over this world. And we're also scattered in Africa. And so I don't want you to get confused about, well, how is it that, you know, the people in Africa, you know, they didn't seem to be going anywhere. They didn't seem to be scattered. How can they claim to be Israelites? Because as you know, or some may not know, there are a lot of Bantu tribes that still claim and still hold tight to their Hebrew origin, such as the Igbo Jews in Nigeria, West Africa, and then the Lemba tribe in Zimbabwe and South Africa. And I'm sure there's many more, but those are the two main ones that come to my mind at this point. And so when you think about scattered, although they may still be living on the continent of Africa, they truly are still scattered because one, they're not in Israel living as a nation. And two, we're not all together as one people living as one nation under the Most High, according to his laws and commandments and statutes that he ordained and gave us to do. And so that scripture that I'm speaking of, it really shows you, especially when you look at the African descending Mexicans down in Mexico, that we have been scattered everywhere all over this planet. And I'm sure there's not one place that you can go where you won't find one or at least one African Hebrew slave descendant. And so this quick video is just going to show a couple of videos, and I hope you learned something. If you do, please comment down below. Again, all disrespectful and harassing comments will be deleted or not posted. So if you do have something that, you know, you don't have to agree, but whatever way you come across, make sure that you come across in a way that's not disrespectful, that's not harassing anyone else that may comment, because they will be deleted or not posted at all. So if you find this video educating and you're informative and you like it, feel free to share it with someone, and also like, comment, and
Todas las danzas son del noroeste de África.
Also notice that she said that the dances came from Northeast Africa. And many people would say that Israel is in the Middle East, but technically it's still connected to the African tectonic plate, which would make it Northeast Africa. Okay guys, so really quickly, this is what I wanted to show you guys. So first thing I want to look at really quickly is the scripture of the promised land and show you all the outline of our promised land that the Most High confirmed and told our forefather Abraham, or Abram at the time, in the covenant he made with him. So here's Genesis chapter 15, verses 18 through 21, and it reads, "In that same day the Most High made a covenant with Abram, saying unto thy seed, I have given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates." Okay, and then there's another scripture that I want to talk about. I want to point out is Exodus 23 and 31. And this is very key also because what we just read shows the left and right, or the east and west borders, and then this verse here in Exodus shows you the top and bottom, or the south and north and south borders. So right here in the KJV it says, "And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and thou shalt drive them out before thee." So if you look at that, we all know that the Red Sea, that's in between Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and that kind of flows into what do you call it? The Suez Canal, which is a man-made canal. Okay. So if you look at, oh, sorry. And then the Gaza Strip, that is right here. Gaza Strip is still in modern day, the so-called state of Israel, and this is where the Philistines lived. Okay, you can see the Gaza Strip here, the Gaza city of Gaza, and they also encompass four other cities, including Gaza, which is all Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath. And those references for those scriptures would be Joshua 13:3, and then also 1 Samuel 16:7. I will leave those in the description box below. But going off of the scriptures that we read Genesis 15:18-21, Exodus 23:31. This is the outline of the land that the Most High promised us according to our forefathers. Well, actually, he promised to our forefathers for us, his seed, their seed, which is us descendants and so forth, according to our obedience to his commandments. So somebody may look and say, well, Israel's so small because this little brown strip here is Israel today. This is the so-called state of Israel. Okay. So if we all were to go back there, we won't be all going back here. When we get back in the land, the Most High sets us back in the land. We're not going to this little tiny slither here. What happened was when we got put out, our disobedience, our enemies overtook us and took back our land and, conquered us and so forth, put us in slavery. And so now you have all these surrounding areas that, were once of the children of Ham, the Canaanites and so forth, before the Most High told us to go in and conquer and possess it. But now that we're out, it's kind of sort of like going back to the way that it was before. So here is the border of Egypt. Here's the river of Egypt, which is the east border or west border. And then here is the river Euphrates. It runs from, this up here is Turkey, okay? And it runs through Syria, Iraq, and then stops right here down by Kuwait, and it drains into the Persian Gulf over here. So this connects here. Here's like he said, through the desert. Here's the Red Sea, and this will be the Suez Canal. As you can see there, Suez. So it connects here from one border to the other border, okay? This is the Red Sea. Well, all this is, but it stops here for us, the Red Sea, and it goes up here to the Gaza Strip, which is right in here. So all of this land in here is our promised land, okay? So when the Most High puts us back in the land, this is where we're all going to be going. But if you look and see that Israel still sits on the land that's connected to Egypt, which is in Africa.
Todas las danzas son del noroeste de África. Nosotros elegimos esa región porque nos dimos cuenta a través del internet que los esclavos que fueron extraídos de allá llegaron hasta acá, a nuestro pueblo, a Collantes, y entonces empezamos a indagar y retomamos esas danzas. Seguimos bailando porque intentamos dar a conocer nuestra cultura y a través del baile nosotros pretendemos invitar, atraer a los jóvenes para que se unan a nosotros y así consolidar nuestra cultura, consolidar nuestra propia identidad como pueblo negro. A mí me encantaría que los pueblos negros sean reconocidos para que con eso exista una igualdad de derechos y así que nosotros nos sintamos orgullosos de ser negros y que también lo transmitamos. Y pues así va a ser a todo dar porque vamos a estar contentos todos.
Go back hundreds of years in Mexico, but as a group, Afro-Mexicans are largely invisible. A 2015 census is changing that. CCTV's Frank Contreras has insight from Mexico's southern state of Oaxaca.
Among Afro-Mexican communities here on the Pacific coast of Mexico's Oaxaca state, this dance is symbolic. Locals say the devils represent the growing power of African descendants in this part of Latin America. It's a history that's beginning to gain global attention. The presence of Africa here in Oaxaca state is one of the lesser-known aspects of the vast cultural diversity in this region, one of the most culturally diverse in all of Latin America. Last year, for the first time, the government conducted an interim census asking Mexicans, based on your culture, history, and traditions, do you consider yourself black, meaning Afro-Mexican or Afro-descendant? And nearly 1.4 million people responded, yes. Afro-Mexican communities exist here in Oaxaca state's Costa Chica region, the neighboring state of Guerrero, and Veracruz state, among others. An Afro-Mexican leader from Pinotepa Nacional says, as a nation, Mexico is much more than just a mixture of Spanish and indigenous people.
We believe that the whole world should know that in the colonial era, Mexico was an entry point for African slaves. Our ancestors were forcibly brought here under slavery.
But images of African descendants in Mexico rarely appear in public. The exception is this famous comic book character, Memín Penguin, which was created in the 1940s. Nicomedes Ramirez and her cousin, Castula Silva, grew up in these impoverished coastal communities. Ramirez says over the years, politicians have come with their election year promises to end poverty.
They told us they would help, and they would bring us basic things we were lacking. All we had to do was ask, but so far, they have done nothing for us.
I never went to school because when I was a girl, there was no school here. We had to go to another community, and my parents, may they rest in peace, told me I could not go, so I never studied.
Afro-Mexican communities are almost completely separated from the rest of Mexico, and very few outsiders ever come here for a first-hand look at their most well-known traditions, like this dance known as a chilena, or this one depicting a charging bull. Mexico's national constitution is the only one in Latin America that does not specifically mention the existence of citizens of African descent. Afro-Mexican authorities say they're planning to take legal action and change the constitution so that it includes them.
By having no presence in the Mexican Constitution, there is no public policy that protects our rights and necessities. We, as Afro-Mexicans, like many indigenous Mexicans, live in regions of extreme marginalization.
Constitutional recognition would finally give them access to medical services, educational grants, and social security benefits. For now, Afro-Mexicans, whose descendants came from places like Kenya, the Congo, and later the Caribbean, still do not enjoy these basic rights. Frank Contreras, CCTV, on the Costa Chica in Mexico's southern state of Oaxaca.
God told him to.
My dear chap, politics is a conspiracy.